Sasha Lipskaia. Welcome to Confidence Conversations.
Oh, thank you, Confidence Conversations, for having me. I am so happy to be here, Jocelyn. So good to see you.
It's amazing to see you as well. You are doing some incredible work. I know that you've been traveling all over the place to spread joy and bliss and wisdom to people all over. And I know a huge part of your work is being a sacred sexuality mentor. And get into that. What is sacred sexuality and how is it different from just sexuality?
The way that I see sacred sexuality, and the reason it resonates so deeply for me, and I feel, again, for you, and this is why you wanted to talk about it, and for anybody who really wants to do this work, is really, it's the word sacred, really, that makes it, right? That everything is transformed when that word is present, because you know that we're about to dive into something that has been, in some way, I want to say untouchable. And so that to me really represents, first of all, sexuality, right? Sexuality. What is sexuality and why does it fascinate us so much? Well, I'll just say right now that one of the deepest reasons why sexuality is so incredibly important for us to not talk about, but really discover for ourselves is because it's the birthplace of everything, like everything, right? So this is beyond our intimate relationship with a significant other and or our own body. Yeah, it absolutely starts in our own body, right? But this is where the sacred really brings it to a place that we often don't dare to go, which is it takes our relationship to ourselves and our bodies to meeting the divine with us. So I see sacred sexuality is as a pathway to discovering, and I say this without any connotation to religion. I want everybody to understand this. This is beyond religion or dogma, right? But this really is what sacred sexuality means to me and why it's so powerful. Sacred sexuality is a pathway to God through your body. And the mystics, right? If you look at certain religious traditions, whether it's in Christian tradition or Jewish tradition or Islam, the mystics, right? We talk about Sufi poets, Rumi, people have heard about, right? Talk about Teresa of Avila. You don't have to know these names, but you might remember certain things that they have, maybe quotes you've seen, right? And it's always about meeting the beloved, right? Meeting the one, meeting God, finding God, connecting to God, serving God. And by God, right, when I use that word, what I mean is really meeting the fullest expression of your divinity in this world, your divinity, because you can't experience the divine. You cannot experience God, right? You cannot experience what is sacred to you without you. And you are not only the experiencer, right? You're not the person experiencing whatever you're experiencing. You are the experience. So sacred sexuality is your experience of yourself as God. That's what I'll say. And it might ruffle some feathers and there could be it's kind of a blasphemous connotation, but I'll say right now, there is no one I know in this world who is truly devoted to the path of serving God. It could be a religious that doesn't understand the importance of knowing God within their body, right? It's not about saying that you are God, right? That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you are the experience of God. And that is very different, right? You are an organism that gets to experience God. You owning it through your body and through the vehicle that you have been given inside of your body, which includes your sexuality as the most potent and the most exciting, which is why we're so fascinated with it. And the most, I'll say this again, pleasurable, powerful, right? And divine experience of God, because your sexuality, again, is the birthplace of everything. You literally give birth to other beings, whether you're a man or a woman, right? Through your seed, through your womb, doesn't matter. You give birth to another human. Just think of that. You create a miracle through your body, through your sexuality. Right. And your capacity to create in the world, whether it is your business, whether it is, again, you consider yourself to be an artist, whatever you create in the world, your relationships you're creating, so long as you are aware that everything is an expression, right, of you, you're a creator. so long as you're aware that everything is a reflection of you, then step into that powerful place of, ooh, I am leading my creation, right? I'm not just creating, I am leading this creation. And so long as you're aware that every creation of yours, your child, your art, your business, your relationship, is you meeting God.
Yeah.
That is how you can experience, right? You can't just be there. You have to experience it through your being. And sexuality is all about, again, it's energy moving through your body that is in its essence creative, that is in its essence life-giving, and that is in its essence absolutely tied into the organ in your body that we consider your sexual center, which is, you know, in your lower chakras, if you want to say that. But again, sacred sexuality goes into intimate relating, right? And that's just why people often come to is like they either want to find their lover, beloved person in the world, or they have somebody in their life, but the relationship does not carry that charge of the sacred, right? And they want to deepen into, again, their sexuality, their capacity to connect with another, only to come back to what I just said. It's your experience of the divinity inside of you. And from that place, you will either magnetize someone who is there for that kind of experience of themselves, right? And then together you unite and holy crap, right? And, or, which is my story, you do this work, not because you're trying to enhance your, let's say, sex life or intimate relationship, or because you want to experience your sexuality in any way, but because you feel that there is a part of you that has not been fully expressed in the world. And it's been numbed down, shut down, and shamed. And for most people, if not all, I won't say all, but most people, that part of them lives within their sexuality, because that's where we start feeling disconnected, right, from the divine, from our bodies. And it's by design. It's not an accident that we feel so much shame around it, that it's so mysterious, that we don't talk about it. That again, that's the concept of sacred sexuality feels a little bit out of like how can sexuality be sacred, right? It's dirty and it's and it's delicious, but also and it's because it's the all of you. It's the darkness and the light, and it's the capacity to actually own your divinity that we are shamed for. It's not our pleasure that we're shamed for. It's our capacity to feel pleasure for ourselves.
Yeah.
It's where the world tells you, you are not worthy. Who are you? You are unlovable. You aren't worthy. Your body is shameful, right? Don't you dare consider that something divine lives in you. And that's where we become cut off. Not again, through cutting us off from our sexuality, we're being cut off from our creativity, from our capacity to, again, connect to other beings and see their divinity, and also from our capacity to actually embody our power. Because embodying your power means that you know and love every part of you. That is your power. You know your instrument. Again, going back to the vehicle, you know your instrument. You know your body is a divine vessel. You know how to work with it. You know how to listen to it. You know how to reveal the truth of your heart through your body, right? Again, your words, whatever you write, whatever you do, that's just an expression of you in the world. But your body is what moves it in to the world, right? So again, anything and everything that you're experiencing resistance to, that you feel challenged by, I'm not going to say, I guarantee it. I will say, I am absolutely committed to showing you and myself that every part of us that in this moment feels somehow traumatized, alone, rejected, shut down, muted, just deactivated, whatever part of you right now feels unhealed, let's just say that, because it's not part of the whole, that's all it means. Yeah. The key to reclaiming it and healing it and actually discovering again who you are through it, which again is by design, all of this, so that you can discover who you are. The quickest and the most important and the most powerful, important because it will show you so much more, but powerful because it really does work, is reclaiming your sexuality. But here's the thing, it will never be about you reclaiming the act of sex, right? It's yes, it will influence how you show up to that, but only from reclaiming your connection to yourself through your experience of your being as the divine vessel that it is, and letting your sexuality actually guide you to meet yourself. And I know what I say right now could be, esoteric and confusing, but just know the most important thing that you have to know about sacred sexuality is it is all about you falling outrageously, unashamedly, right? Fully in love with you, but the fullness, the allness, the wholeness of you every single day, like your bones to your thoughts, to your blood, to everything. And from that place, coming into that sacred union, we often say sacred sexuality and sacred union, those go back and back together, back and back together. They're back to back because sacred union is meeting yourself, right? And through sacred sexuality, you get to meet yourself. Again, your divine feminine, right? Your divine masculine. We will all talk about that. But before we get there, it's meeting your feminine, meeting your masculine, in really allowing yourself to come into that harmony within yourself that's perfect for you,
right?
So that you can transmit it to the world and become an expression of that wholeness. And it doesn't mean that you don't yearn for and desire, right? And are open to receiving a partner or, connection with that. On the contrary, it actually means that you will be even more open to that, but it will come from a place of wholeness, so that whoever comes into your life or whoever is in your life will only resonate more highly with that feeling of I am whole unto myself, and yet I am open to discovering the divine in you.
Sure.
Right? I know the divine in me. I want to find the divine in you. And you only can find the divine in another being if you know it in you. Yeah. Because that is the part of you that will see the divine in another being. So if you just
if you don't see it within yourself. And
no,
we were talking, I was thinking the chakras.
Yes.
How your sacral chakra, so you have your root chakra, which we're not going to do a whole lesson in chakras, but everyone who listens knows that I'm super into it. Root chakra, which is what helps you feel grounded. But right that you have your sacral chakra. We touched on this, but we don't really, think about it together. Is that sacral chakra.
Yes.
Aligned with your creativity and your sexuality and a bunch of other things, but those are two really huge components.
Yes.
And you mentioned that when that's not turned on, and when we aren't experiencing the divine within ourselves, sometimes we feel cut off from that creative expression. And it makes so much sense because it aligns exactly with that message and with what the chakras are saying.
Yes.
My question is, because you laid out a lot there, and I think some of us are like, yes, we get it, and others are maybe like, what are you talking about?
Yes.
What is the divine within us, and how do we know when we've experienced it?
Yeah. So you just asked a beautiful question, and the chakras actually have something to do with what I'm going to say. So we have a tendency to bypass and jump over things. Actually, the key to what we're seeking. And so how we experience the divine within ourselves is by actually witnessing and loving the parts of us we don't want to love and be with first. And that begins, you said the sacral chakra, but actually begins in the root. And everything you just said just resonates so clearly to me to express what I'm going to say next, which is I was working actually with a client of mine yesterday, and we discovered through the session that she was resisting being in her root chakra. And because we're talking about sexuality a lot, and, again, creativity, absolutely, the sacral. But if we don't start at the root, there is no fuel that will go. And again, when I talk about sexual power and energy, I mean the fuel, right? Your fuel in life is your sexual energy, period, end of story. Period, end of story. And your capacity to express it will depend on if it flows or not, right? If you're able to master it, if you're able to then extend it in service to yourself and other people, right? So your root chakra is where you start. And most of us don't even know that we're blocked there, right? We're like, oh, it's sacral. I'm not connected to my creativity. It must be my sacral chakra. Absolutely. You're not wrong. But there is more. And the more is if you don't feel safe if you take anything away from this conversation, this is the most important thing. If you don't feel safe in your body to be with how you feel about yourself, that's your relationship with you, right? How you feel about yourself. You will not be able to then work through that part of you that wants to embody your sexuality and reveal and let the creativity flow, because you won't feel safe to be who you are. That's what sexuality allows you to do, right? You express yourself to the world. I'm here, I'm alive, you're seeing me, right? This is my creation.
It's vulnerable.
You're vulnerable, you're exposed, you are open, right? And it goes up to the heart then, right? All the chakras make sense. Okay, your power center. We don't have to talk about that, but it really, they build each other, but they always work together. It's not one at a time, it's all of them. And we have to start at the beginning. And so what you said, right, about the root and the sacral. So the sacral, yes, is your creativity. However, the root is the root, literally, of where you discover who you are. I am alive. I am a being in this world. I either am safe to be here, I'm either loved, I'm either worthy, or I'm not. And from that place, your sacral chakra will either open up to be like, yes, let me reveal all of you, or be like, it's not even on a table for you to choose to reveal all of you, because you're not safe to be alive, little girl, right?
And
like that's,
I think what you hit on is so important. And I think I want to stay there for a second, because I think that, and I'll talk from my own experience, like years ago, thinking that, I didn't know anything about chakras or anything. And I don't think it's necessary that you do in order to do this type of work. But I was in a place where I felt like everything was fine, right? And there was no piece of me that necessarily felt like I wasn't safe. But all of this, like if we're using like a root analogy, there was like all of these like blockages to the roots, and things like you could plant the best soil and have the best nutrients, that still wasn't flowing up to the rest of me because there were blockages in the roots. I didn't know that they were there. And so I'm thinking life is great, life is fine, but like I had no capacity to be creative. I was not comfortable in my own skin, in my own body. And I had such a difficult time. I can't even say recognizing it, because it wasn't even something, this is before the work. It wasn't something that had crossed my mind. How do we get to the point of recognizing that, the areas in life that I'm not performing, or where I'm not showing up in the way that I know that I can, but I just can't seem to get there? How do we begin to identify the blockages, which are so often at the root, but because they're so far down, and we have deep roots that are so far away from the stems that we see, how do we identify that without falling apart or having some breakthrough moment? Because I don't ever want to go through what I went through. So how do we identify that before things fall apart? Are there indications or signs that, hey, there may be a blockage, and that this is a matter of safety, not necessarily just creativity or love or confidence?
Well, okay, so you hit something really important, and I want to say to everybody who's with us right now, like, you've already self-selected, right, to be here because something is happening, right? That it's not bad, but something is happening, because whatever is happening in your life isn't optimal, right? And it's not a bad thing. It's an invitation to grow, right? So we just want to say that this is good. This is good. I always say, and it's good, right? And so here's the thing, confidence, right? This conversation is in a context of confidence. Confidence is the result of your embodiment of who you really are. When you know who you really are, and there is even more and you don't know, and it's okay, right? Because that's the whole point. But in this moment, this is what I am. I'm here, right? Loud and clear. When you embody that, confidence is the result. That's what people see. They see a transmission of your conviction, right? Of your devotion, of your presence with yourself. That's all it is, right? This interests me. I love this. Look at me. I'm here, right? I'm here to serve. This is awesome. You don't think about I'm confident. You just are, right? And that's the transmission of confidence versus a performance of it. right? And some people come different ways, right? Sometimes you do have to perform, right, a certain confident role first to be like, oh, I'm so out of sync with it, right? And that's when you see there is a root problem. That's one. There's your one answer is you see, okay, my performance of my life looks this way, but like you said, I don't actually feel that way on the inside. Now, here is how you know when there is a blockage in the root. When you actually feel resistance to spend time with you, simple test right here. Spend time with yourself. No guided meditation, no massage, no music, nothing, no journaling. You and you, silence, no stimuli, right? Basically just wherever you are. If you feel if I say to you right now, turn everything off and spend 15 minutes wherever you are right now, nothing else. If your first response is, what am I going to do? Or I don't want to, right? And this boring. To me, that is an indication that there is blockage. And here's why. Because your capacity to find joy and just, I want to say pleasure and fulfillment, being with yourself is the indication that you absolutely are tapped into that, what you're saying we need, right? That creative energy, that flow, that sexual power, the embodiment of your truth. Everything we talk about comes back to the same thing. The embodiment of your wholeness equals embodiment of the truth of who you are in this moment, right? That equals your optimal potential in this moment is available and you're aware and you're touching, right? You're touching it and you feel confident and you feel open and you're feeling the vulnerability and you know, right? You know that it will require things of you. It doesn't feel like, oh, it's so easy. I'm just no, you know, the challenge is there, but that excites you because you get to reveal more of you.
Yeah.
And so the litmus test to knowing whether you're blocked or not without a crisis or without actually having the experience of falling apart, be like, oh, apparently it was blocked, right? It's like, is just sit with the question and get very honest. How do I feel about being with myself? Get very honest and spend the 15 minutes of actually just being with yourself. And the one question you're asking is, how do I feel about myself? And again, it might be that you discover, I love being with myself, but I haven't created the time. Okay, well, there's your blockage. You need to create the container, get into a women's group, hire a coach, create the actual foundation for you to spend that time with yourself so that you can work through whatever it is that you're not working through, right? Because you're not spending that time with the only thing that really you have control over, right? But also the only thing that actually informs your experience in this world, which is your feeling about you. That's it. How I feel about me is the only thing it's the only thing that matters, really. In the end of the day, in the beginning of the day, any time of the day. How do I feel about me?
Because
that's
it's the way that we show up, because it could sound selfish, right?
Yeah, and it is.
but I think it's so much more than that, because there's selfish, right? And then there's self-serving. And I think that they're two different things. This is, how do I take care of me so that I can show up and be a light to others? Because if we're not really aligned, if we're not truly confident, if we don't get rid of whatever is down there, dig up those, maybe toxic roots, the blockages and the healthy ones, we're not able to fully express ourselves. We're not able to be there for others. We can perform confidence all that we want. And in some areas, we may actually be confident, but we're not able to embody confidence as an individual. And so I think doing that work is necessary to be able to show up in any capacity for others and to make the world a place and live out your calling.
Well, it's not selfish. As I said, it's selfish. It is to other people who might feel that way because they are resistant to it. I call it self-full. It's self. If you don't take responsibility for filling yourself up, and again, sacred sexuality, with your experience of who you really are, you will never know who you really are. You won't be able to stand in it, stand for it. This is where integrity comes from, right? It's not because you want to be out of integrity that you are out of integrity, right? It's because you don't know what you're actually devoted to, because you don't really know who you are and what you stand for. Of course, you're out of integrity. Like, oh, why am I with this guy who's treating me so badly, right? Why am I in this job that I don't even know if I like it? Why? Because you do not know what it is that you are. And I said what intentionally, right? It's not who, it's not a role you play. And some people are like, but who and what you are, right, is beyond your identity. It's that capacity to just embody the truth of I'm this thing. I don't even know my gender right now. I'm just this thing. Like, yeah, I'm a force of life, right? That's what I am. And then who I am is Sasha, woman, 37 years old, this and that. And that changes every single day. And I love it. But the confidence that often we talk about, right? It's the confidence of embodying a certain, identity, which is not bad, right? It's how we show up in the world. However, when we're attached to that identity, we're not actually confident, right? Because even if it aligns with something we want to do, like I want to be a coach, right? So I'm going to embody this powerful coach. I'm going to do my work and be really confident. That's awesome. But if beneath that, I don't feel, again, this deep connection to that knowing of whatever it is in my body, in my womb, in my, my lower chakras and my heart, of something that loves me just as I am, without me doing anything, just loves me. If I'm not connected to that, then I'm not able to feel safe in revealing even more of me. And then when it's in service, saying, you know what, from this day on, right now, that's what I feel in my heart. I'm not a coach. I'm going to embody, right, the role of teacher, for example, right now. That's okay, right? I'm not attached to, that's my confidence. My confidence comes from being a successful coach. No, I embody the truth of what's being asked of me, right? But it only comes from a place, and like you said, this connection to your creativity is key, right? Because if you're not able to actually own that you are creating every single moment of your life, you will feel intimidated, right, by the idea that you have creative energy, because it will feel like, well, it's hard work. Like, I don't know how to do it. Somebody tell me what to do, right? And that's
what do I do?
But
it's exactly right. And I love that you pointed this out, that, our identities transcend any imagination of what our egos would like us construct, and what we attach ourselves to in the physical and the 3D. We just are, right? But I want to learn about your journey to just being.
Okay, so Jocelyn, and I mean, I love this because I gave such a long esoteric answer to like what is sacred sexuality, because guys, it's quite esoteric. And here's why it's esoteric, is because we live in a world, and I want to preface this with this is important PSA. We live in a world where this kind of, I want to call it technology, has not been available until now. Like, we're talking about this now because now is the time, right? It wasn't available even to our mothers. Now, it doesn't mean that the experience of the divine, and like I said, the mystics, right? The great healers, the great teachers, the Buddha, like they all talk about the same thing. They're all talking about sacred sexuality. That's what they're talking about. They're talking about, I'm meeting God. That's it. That's what it is. Right now, we have never had this language, sacred feminine, sacred masculine, right? The divine union and sacred sexuality, because the capacity that we now have as human beings to actually embody it now is available to pretty much anyone. Before, it was chosen, the Buddha. He's here to enlighten and guide, and, the Christ, if whatever you believe, doesn't matter, right? But the human beings that embodied sacred consciousness, let's just say that. Now we have the capacity to tap into that wisdom and that capacity, right, to be with the divine while remaining very human in our lives, not going to the Himalayas, not going to the desert, not going to the ashram. Like, the responsibility to do is absolutely available to everybody, because we can. And like, again, your creative energy could be overwhelming if you don't know that it's actually empowering and what you get to do with it. If you never had the chance, like, I don't want the responsibility. It's so hard. I can feel it in my bones. That's the shadow, by the way, of the child, right? The eternal child. I don't want to grow up. And it usually comes with the light of the king and queen. Let me reparent myself. Let me be the divine guide. Again, this is sacred union. I am going to meet myself. I am going to heal, guide, love, support, empower myself to come out into this world and really do my work, right?
Yeah.
And do work in a way that serves me and everyone else, right? And that starts with, where is the divine in me and how does it want to express? So my story is literally my whole life looking for the divine. Like I was literally searching, and I didn't know that, right? I wasn't calling it that ever, but I realized that's what it was, because there's actually a quote by, I think it's Rumi. I might be wrong, but I think it's Rumi. It's like a stanza where if you're looking for God, you will find yourself. And if you're looking for yourself, you will find God. And that's what it is, right? Some of
beautiful.
Right. But that's what I'm talking. So God, like, that's what I mean. It's the feeling, right? Of, you can't explain it. And a good thing we can't, but you have to experience it. And once you do, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And who's listening, you know what I'm talking about. So my story, Jocelyn, 8 years old, just moved to Israel from Russia, this mutt of a child, as I call myself, sacred mutt, part native Colombian, part Russian, part Jewish, throw everything into the mix, right? And like, I moved to Israel from Russia, and the first day I'm there, I go to my new school and I'm there, and I was really just like I am now. Like I was very exuberant, I was very expressive. Then that took a little dive after that. So all this to say that this is what happened. That day, I sat in class and I felt this desire to express, to create, as children do, because children are so tapped into that root, right? They're here. If something doesn't come and traumatize them, which 99% of the time it will, right? So here is me.
Blockage right there.
Right there. Here's me with, let's see what's going to come, right? Now, we also, and I want to say this, whatever happened to you, right? Whatever you experienced, not your fault. You didn't choose to install the programming.
Yeah.
However, it was installed so that you can now choose the responsibility, because the technology is now available to you to not only uninstall it, but then reveal and reinstall your natural programming, which is your intuitive awareness, your sexual power, and the embodiment of who you are, which
Before
is—
you go on with your story, because you just said that like so beautifully and clearly, I think it's the programming that allows us to experience God and find ourselves, because as children, we just have it, right? If you're born with money, if you're born with God, if you're born with all of these things, you don't really realize or understand what it is, because you don't know life without it. And so you have to kind of come back to yourself in that. And so,
that's beautiful. But you just said something. Yes. It's literally, again, one of my teachers, Muji, is a spiritual teacher, more of the Buddhist tradition, but doesn't matter, right? But he said something that resonated with me and stayed with me for a while. I'll offer it to you. Is, it's like as if the divine, right, created the experience of forgetting that it's divine so that it could have the pleasure of remembering that it's divine. When you think from that place, I created all this. So again, this is from victim to warrior. It's like, this happened versus this happened to me. It's like, no, it happened. The ice storm happened. It didn't happen to you. It happened. Does nature sit there like the trees? Like, the ice storm happened to me. How dare it happen to me? It may have lost everything. Maybe even become uprooted, but it happened. Not it just did. Now, the warrior says it happened, right? The programming was installed. This is why I work with archetypes. It's really helpful. Again, you get to choose. In the victim mode, this happened to me as a child. I got triggered. I got traumatized. I therefore shut down my sexuality, my power. I don't know who I am. Help me.
Right.
And I'll stay there. And I'll get an experience of power every time, right? I feel victimized, because I'm like, it's the only way I get attention. I am powerless. Help me. I am a victim. A lot of us are trapped in that. I was there too. Sometimes I still am. It's never going to go away. To your point, why? To remind me that I'm not, right? No, here's the thing. The other side of it is, this happened. What am I going to create? In this question is sacred sexuality. I'm going to use my creative power, my optimal potential right now, whatever that is. Clearly something is available to me that wasn't before. What am I going to create out of this? Literally like this mess, right? And yes. Why? Because that's you discovering the divine, right? That's the whole point of it, being in your life, whatever that happening is, right? That's the opportunity to discover the divine in that moment. And it should feel easy, right? You self-select because it is a hero's journey. If you're here for it, that's destiny versus fate. Everything's happening to me. I'm just, again, somebody tell me what to do, how to act, so that I don't have to take responsibility for my creativity, so that I don't have to feel alive because it hurts, right? My heart has to love and keep being broken, and I don't want to do that. Basically, the fear of feeling is more important than the freedom of feeling. Ooh, right?
That's, yeah.
That.
Right there.
But that's it. But the reason we choose the fear of feeling, right? It's not because you're less than, right? Everything I say, none of it is because you don't know what it's like to be feeling your feeling. You don't know the bliss. If you've never had intimate relationships with someone that you loved, right? And let's say you had sex with somebody you love, right? You know, the experience is absolutely extraordinary, right? If you've never had that, and all you have is an experience with somebody who was abusive, for example, or never let you actually feel your pleasure, that's what you would associate, right, with being in union with someone. And so why would you choose to be with somebody when that traumatized experience keeps happening? When you know, right, in your body is like, well, being with somebody equals fear. It's like, I don't want to do that. It's like, well, yeah, but freedom is available. It's like, yeah, how can I trust that? Like, I've never experienced that before.
I would say too, there's people, because I know we work with a lot of divorcees too. I experienced that and then it went away, and I don't want to deal with the hurt of losing it again. But it's like, what did you learn in the process? And what did you discover? What did you create? Did you find God in the process? And if not, then there's this beautiful opportunity to do so.
Yeah. And I'm sorry to say, I'm not gonna coddle anyone like myself. And if you really are here, to discover who you are,
right,
and love as who you are, get ready. Your heart will be broken.
Yes,
it's a feature of the program you want to live, right? Because broken hearts expand their capacity to love. It's by design. If you want to have a baby, guess what's going to happen? Your womb will expand, things will happen so that you can have a baby.
Yeah.
It's by design. Right now, in the process of that expansion, as your heart literally is a muscle, right? It will expand. The point isn't, let me go back to the old ways, right? Let me fix it. It's like, no, let it be broken so that it can create literally the scar tissue so that it can rebuild itself. But the way that it's going to rebuild itself, and if you can see me, you can see the broken heart is going to rebuild itself to be even more big, even more big. Look at how eloquent I sound, but truly, right? That's what it is, more big. It can become bigger. It can expand its capacity to hold and receive, and therefore give love, right? It literally expands your capacity to love. So the broken heart that you have in this moment, wherever you are, just know you are saying yes to more love.
Yeah.
The only way you will fail at this is if you don't, right? If you say, I'm not here for it. Again, you're not bad for doing that. I understand if you don't want to do that. But if you're here for love, the broken heart just allows you to love more.
Yeah.
Right. So, and it absolutely has to be that way because that's how we grow. You break your muscles at the gym because that's how they grow. And so now back to our conversation before, like the rebuilding of it actually requires your capacity again to feel safe in your body and to know what you need. And we can talk a lot about this, but honoring at the root, right? What do I need in this broken heart story? Where was I not expressing the truth of my heart? Where did I not love? Where did I withhold my heart, especially for women, right? Where did I lose myself and therefore allowed my whatever significant other, basically allowed, right, them to be with somebody who wasn't loving them, right? Like that is on me. And it's not about blaming. It's just taking responsibility. That's why my heart's broken, right? Because I know, right? There is more and I didn't give it. And now
whether it's to that person or to yourself, and you have to start with yourself. And I think a lot of times use that, like that statement of like, what could you have done with like, for that person or to solve that? It's really start within.
Yeah. Yeah.
Start
It's
within.
you. It's you. Whatever you feel like it, again, like you said, whatever you withheld or whatever, what it was withheld from you,
Mhm.
is you withholding from yourself. So
Right.
that's why 15 minutes with yourself. How do you feel about yourself? That's it. Break up. How do you feel about yourself? Were you honest in your needs? I'm like, maybe, I don't know. Well, that means that you don't know, right? Which means that you weren't the actual truth of your heart, which means that, of course, you set yourself up for the situation, because if you're not showing up in the truth of your heart, whatever you receive will be a response to a heart that's closed. Even if, right, I'm not saying you didn't love the person. Of course you did, but your expression of it came from 50%, right, of your capacity to love. And so what a gift that the divine, the universe, did not let you live that way. Right? And it hurts because you don't want to live without it, right? And you absolutely want to do better, quote unquote. But that's how we learn, right? We have to get hurt so that we're like, I never want to do it again. And guess what? You will get hurt regardless, because someone will always, in some way or another, I don't want to say let you down, right? But someone will always, in a way, let you feel longing for more.
Yeah.
Because your capacity for love is always expanding. And whether or not they're physically going to leave or die, right, or whatever is going to happen, you are going to feel like there is more you want. And there is that constant heartbreak of like, but there is just a little bit more that I want. That's healthy. That's okay. So long as you're aware and you're not resentful that you don't have it in every moment. You can't, right? The world will never be fully able to meet you because it's expanding with you, right? But
yeah.
Jocelyn, it starts with you being able to give it to you. So when I say I want more, I need more, I'm honest with my need, right? My desire, my terms. How do I give it to myself? How do I give it to myself right now? And then how do I give it to the world?
Yeah.
That's it. And that's how you magnetize the kind of relationship, the kind of partnership, the kind of sexual experience that makes you feel met and respected and fulfilled and still yearning for more. Right. But then, oh, and I get to give myself even more now. Great. Yay. More responsibility. But like, good. Because that's how you discover your power, right? Your responsibility is where your power is. So,
and we grow and we experience our limitless potential.
Yes. It's limitless. Exactly. Exactly. Exactly.
Oh my gosh. We've only like scratched the surface. So going back like 5 more times, that's happening for sure. But before I let you go today, Sasha, I want to know what confidence means to you.
What confidence means to me is embodying the wholeness of you and feeling safe in standing in that power. Because your power is your capacity to know who you are and to feel curious and joyful and excited to learn more is your capacity to, people say I'm scared of my power. This is how you actually accept the responsibility for your power. You knowing who you are is you reclaiming your power. And just close off the story that I never told, which is totally fine because people could find it online if they want to. But the 8-year-old person who, what happened is I was bullied that day, right? And I, for the first time in my life, really felt I don't belong. I could feel these kids around me. It's like, you don't belong. You're not worthy, right? You're not one of us. We don't want you here. Go home. And I was like, my whole body, right? Just collapse. I can't collapse. I can't be me. I can't be me. It's not safe to be in my power. It's not safe to be me. So in that moment, we choose to do this subconsciously, to dumb down, shut down, close down, literally my body, my power centers, yes, my sexual power. And then of course, right, my capacity to express it, my creativity, so that I feel safe in that moment, because it wasn't safe for me to actually be fully in my power. Fair. Am I 8 years old in a schoolyard in Israel right now? No. Right. But then we live our whole life with this occurring world where now it's never safe to be who you are and you will never be loved in your power. So you have to sell yourself, try to prove yourself, play roles to make sure that other people accept you. No one's fault. Right? It's a programming, but just know that it's installed through your survival archetypes, whatever they are, and you get to uninstall it through moving them into your power archetypes, right? Oh, I'm a lover, not a prostitute. right? I'm a queen, not a child. I'm a warrior, not a victim.
Yeah.
And so that is, again, this journey of sacred sexuality for me was reclaiming not just my sexuality, which I'm sure you can relate to. Then the relationships and the jobs will set you up to feel like, yeah, I got it all. But somehow I feel like I'm not really here and it's not really my life.
Yeah.
Like I feel numb.
Literally have it all. And
I have it all. And I feel numb. Something is off, right? I'm distracting myself with everything not to feel. That's your key. If you're distracting yourself not to feel, there is blockage. If you don't want to be with yourself because a part of you is afraid to feel, it's the same thing. There is a blockage. If you feel that your life has everything you've ever wanted, but you don't want yourself, that's a, and so that was my story, is reclaiming my wanting of me without a partner, without a job, without money, without a place that I loved to live, right? Just like me without anything. Can I love myself so much that nothing matters?
yeah.
And from that place, yes, I like, oh, apparently I was looking for the divine the whole time because that's what it is. Apparently, I did not know, but this is what it is. And no church and no teaching and no scripture and no meditation program will give me that, right? It will help maybe, but what the only thing you can give it to you is your decision to commit to discovering who you are and doing the inner work to uninstall the system that confused you into being something you're not. And then, like you said, revealing the natural system of actually knowing your divinity. And here's the key: practicing, integrating, learning how to operate from this system. Because as much as it's natural, you're out of practice. Just because a jaguar naturally will run, if it's lived in captivity in a cage its whole life and it has never ran, its muscles have atrophied and it doesn't know the cadence and it's never been out in nature. Guess what's going to happen? So this is what we're doing. We're all caged, wild, beautiful animals, and we have to unlearn how to be in a cage and relearn, and this is through our bodies, what we actually are and how we're and who we get to become as a result of who we are, right? We become the expression of ourselves every day. We reveal more and more and more. That's what I mean by become. You're basically becoming you. You've always been you, right? But like you said, there's limitless potential. So there's more of you every day, which is like, I've become this person. You've always been this person. You just never expressed that part of you, but now you're practicing. So now confidence means to me, your capacity to express the truth of your heart today, right now, as an act of outrageous self-love to you. I get to love myself as this. Watch me. Because it's beautiful. And it's a gift. And it's a gift. You're welcome. Right? Like, and it's not arrogant. It's not arrogant, right? It's like, you're welcome. It's me loving. It's me loving.
Oh my gosh. It's so good. Yes. And this this is not the last. We're having you on the show. I'm going to track down, Sasha. Thank you so much for sharing with us. This has been so helpful and so beautiful, really.
Thank you. Thank you, Jocelyn. And thank you for being such a beautiful embodiment of what sacred, I want to say sacred, really sacred, sacred confidence. Confidence in the divinity inside of you, right? In that which is in everyone. Your confidence is that, right? It's you're touching into that in everyone. So you're literally elevating everybody in front of you to feel that within them. That's confidence.
Yeah.
And you embody that. It's not a mistake that you run a business called Confidence Daily, right? But for you, really, it feels like this is not about confidence. This is about truth, true confidence. Thank you, Jocelyn. Thank you.
Thank you.